The stars are aligned for the D-backs here in this land of Hollywood stars. We're in Los Angeles, where the Diamondbacks are set for 3 against the Dodgers after taking 2 of 3 from L.A. Back home in the Valley last month, the Big Bats are rolling for Arizona. No Kershaw, no Greinke, no Ryu for L.A. So a chance for a second series win over these Dodgers starts tonight right here on Fox Sports Arizona. Good evening from Dodger Stadium. Welcome to the broadcast. Steve Berthune, Bob Brenly along the way. The first of 3, the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers, with the D-backs really catching L.A. at exactly the perfect time. None of the Dodgers' best pitchers will go in this series. They have some slumping offensive stars. Others are injured. And so the stars really do seem to be aligned, Bob, in the Diamondbacks' favor. The timing is just right here for this weekend series, especially considering the way the Diamondbacks' big bats performed against the Rockies.
Yeah, Goldie and Trumbo. Gold Rumbo, if you will. We've talked about these guys, joked about the name a little bit, but you can't joke about this production against the Rockies. 16 for 26 combined. Mark Trumbo hasn't struck out since the first game of the Pirates series. He is making contact with everything that's close to that strike zone, and Goldie's just being Goldie.
So hopefully the Diamondbacks offense will keep it rolling here against some Los Angeles pitching. They are scrambling to put together a rotation. A lot of injuries for the Dodgers in that starting rotation, including Brandon McCarthy, who had Tommy John surgery yesterday. So no Kershaw, no Greinke. Puig and Crawford are hurt. Rollins and Grandal are slumping.
Well, if there was ever a time to take advantage of the circumstance, of course, you never take anybody for granted regardless of who's in the lineup, but a lot of very key pieces either missing or not firing on all cylinders.
Chip Hale very pleased with his starting rotation. Ruby De La Rosa, the former Dodger, is on the rubber tonight after he was electric against the Pirates in his last start. We are set for baseball. The D-backs and the Dodgers from L.A. coming up.
Fox Sports Arizona is brought to you in part by Cox Gigablast. How will you live the gig life? By Lone Butte Casino. You're in for more winning moments at Lone Butte Casino. And by Jack in the Box. Jack's hottest sandwich is back. Head to Jack in the Box for Jack's Blazing Chicken Sandwich.
Hey, we are just moments away now from first pitch. Dodgers and Diamondbacks here from Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. Thanks for joining us here on Fox Sports Arizona. I'm Todd Walsh, inside literally, as you can see, the Arizona Diamondbacks dugout. Let's take a look at what Steve and Bob were talking about, perhaps, maybe, just maybe, catching the Los Angeles Dodgers at the right time. In particular, when you look at the rotation and how it falls and the probables for this series, De La Rosa, Hellickson, Anderson, Frias, Baker, and Anderson. But as Chip Hale cautioned us today, hey, don't think about that. It's still the Los Angeles Dodgers. But right now, let's focus in on Ruby De La Rosa coming off his best start. I think you could argue as an Arizona Diamondback, he was lights out against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Fastball command was the key for him. But also, keep an eye tonight on the pace of the game as he dictates it. They want him to get that ball and throw it and keep the game moving, something the Diamondbacks have been concentrating on with Ruby since they brought him into the organization. He was simply spectacular in that regard, in that part of the game against the Pittsburgh Pirates. But again, it all starts with fastball command. So there you have it. We have hopefully set the table for you here with D-Backs Live. And as we continue to march down towards the first pitch, Diamondbacks have the bats rolling as they hit the road here to Los Angeles on their journey through this National League West. When we come back, it's the first pitch. Steve and Bob have the call. Diamondbacks and Dodgers in a moment.
Visit to Dodger Stadium this year after taking 2 of 3 from L.A. back home at Chase Field last month. And the Diamondbacks hoping to change their luck in this ballpark this year. They won just twice in 9 games last year. And Dodger Stadium, long considered a great pitcher's park, but it has been, Bob, a hitter's haven this year, and the ball was flying out during batting practice.
Yeah, because of the statewide drought here in California, not as much of a marine layer as you're used to seeing here at Dodger Stadium for the night games, and the ball has absolutely been jumping out of the park.
25-year-old right-hander Carlos Frias will start tonight for L.A. His first big league start this year, just the 3rd of his career. Here's Diamondbacks hitting coach Turner Ward.
He's a young arm. He got some good velocity. And I think like a lot of young pitchers, doesn't have the secondary stuff that they want to have right now. And so you try to feast on, the other. So, that's what we're all kind of our game plan anyway. Usually it's got off the fastball unless they tell us different.
Frias, one of the options that Don Mattingly has to fill the rotation spot vacated by former Diamondback Brandon McCarthy, who had Tommy John surgery yesterday.
Turner Ward has instructed his guys to hit off the fastball. They're going to get a belly full of them tonight. You heard him say the secondary pitches just haven't been there. The cutter's a good pitch for him, but you can see the velocity at 93 and the changeup at 92. Not that much slower than his four-seam and two-seam fastball. A lot of hard stuff from Frias.
Frias is already the 8th different starting pitcher the Dodgers have used this year, and it's only May 1st today. This is the lineup for Chip Hale's Arizona Diamondbacks.
A.J. Pollock making his way to the plate right now. He'll be in center field with Chris Owings at second base, Paul Goldschmidt at first, Mark Trumbo out in right field, David Peralta in left, Yasmani Tomas at third base, Tuffy Gosawish doing the catching, Nick Ahmed at shortstop, and Ruby De La Rosa on the mound.
Alan Porter is our plate umpire tonight. A.J. Pollock is in there. We are underway. The Diamondbacks and Dodgers, 3 here from Los Angeles. There's ball 1. A.J. batting .320 for the year. It was very warm here, summer-like conditions really this afternoon during batting practice. It has cooled a bit now here as we get underway at 7:10 local time. And A.J. has hit an 8 straight against Los Angeles. The numbers are impressive. In a big series when the D-backs took 2 of 3 from L.A. back at Chase Field in April. 5 hits and 12 at-bats. He's behind a ball and 2 strikes.
I mentioned the way the ball's been jumping here at Dodger Stadium. The Dodgers lead the National League in home runs. The Reds are a close second, playing in that wiffle ball park in Cincinnati, but you never expect the Dodgers to lead the league in home runs early in the season.
A.J. lifts it to right center field. Jock Peterson tracks it down, and that's the first out. Take a look at the Dodgers around Frias. Their mid-first bank starting defense.
Because of some of the struggles and guys on the disabled list, a little different looking lineup for Don Mattingly. Alex Guerrero in left field, Jock Peterson in center, Andre Ethier, the veteran, over in right field. It'll be Turner and Rollins on the left side of the infield, Kendrick and Gonzalez on the right side, with Yasmani Grandal doing the catching for Carlos Frias.
And Jock Peterson, their rookie center fielder, has been tremendous defensively in center field, and a red-hot bat as well. Just moved up to the leadoff spot this week by Don Mattingly. Chris Owings in the 2-hole for Chip Hale. He looks at strike 1. CO with 227 on the year. On the ground, a shortstop. Rollins spins and throws. 2 down. The veteran Jimmy Rollins.
Not only gets the out at first base, but gets a few style points here. Goes into a slide to stop his momentum, plants that right foot, and fires across for the easy out at first base.
And that'll bring up Paul Goldschmidt, hitting .338. He finished the first month of the season with 20 RBIs in 21 games, only 1 behind Giancarlo Stanton for the league lead. Goldie also one of just 5 National League players with that OPS over 1,000. The list does include Dodgers' Adrian Gonzalez and Jock Peterson. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, coming off a big series against the Rockies, Goldie with 3 consecutive 3-hit games. That's in the seats and out of play. We talked about the timing, Bob. This seems like the perfect time to play these guys. They are ripe for the picking here.
Yeah, I mean, every manager looks at the schedule, and you look at the other team's rotation, and you start counting ahead when you're going to see that team and try to figure out who you're going to face in that particular series as Goldie grounds one to short. Now, this is a big break for the Diamondbacks in this series.
A 1-2-3 start for Frias just underway in Los Angeles. pitcher for the Diamondbacks. He's 26-year-old right-hander Ruby De La Rosa, facing his former club for the first time since he was traded to Boston following the 2012 season. Key tonight for Chip Hale, pace.
When he's going good, his pace is good. And when guys start to get on, he starts to slow down. So we've been trying to, hey, just keep the same pace, good or bad. He did a nice job of that. His stuff is so good that we just had to keep working with him. His last outing was fantastic, and we got to build on that because we really do believe he's a top of the rotation pitcher, and he's getting there.
He was outstanding in his last start against the Pirates at Chase Field last weekend, and he's in there against rookie leadoff man center fielder Jock Peterson for the Dodgers.
And we'll keep an eye on that pace of Ruby De La Rosa out there on the mound. I don't think they want him to be quite to the extreme as Wade Miley, who used to run back to the rubber, couldn't wait to throw the next pitch, but they definitely want him to work a little quicker, especially when he gets into some trouble.
Be careful with Peterson, who was just moved up to the leadoff spot for Wednesday's game and hit a leadoff home run. That was against the Giants, Ryan Vogelsong. Dodgers hit 3 homers in the first inning that ball game. There's a strike, 2 and 1. And Peterson, well, why not make him the leadoff man? He's got an on-base percentage that's over .460. And you see the OPS, good for 7th in the league. Batting .298 with 9 extra base hits. Up into that light sky in left field. Easy play for Peralta. Take a look at the Diamondbacks around Ruby De La Rosa. It's our mid-first bank starting defense.
Well, we know David Peralta's out in left field. He handled that first chance, no problem. A.J. Pollock in center. Mark Trumbo over in right. Yasmani Tomas at third base. Nick Ahmed at short. Chris Owings at second. Paul Goldschmidt over at first base with Tuffy Gosewish doing the catching for Ruby De La Rosa.
And Nick Ahmed on the left-hand side of the infield all by himself as the Diamondbacks shift for Jimmy Rollins down in the 2-hole. And he bunts it foul. Rollins is slumping. He's at 185 for the year. 2 homers, one of them was Wednesday in the win over the Giants. The on-base percentage is only .280. And there's a look at the defensive shift on the right-hand side. Ruby jumps ahead 0-2. Rollins never starts out hot. He's got a .260 career batting average in April. But he admits even his slow starts in years past have not been quite this slow. Definitely not, he says. And he says some people like to panic. That's never been his MO. But, if these are his worst 50 at-bats this year, he says they're glad they're happening now.
Well, and being the new guy on the block, of course, he was a fixture there in Philadelphia, maybe a little more tolerant to those slow starts, the Phillies fans, although they're not tolerant of much of anything in Philly. But because Jimmy was an established star on that team, I think the fans realized that, hey, he's a slow starter. He'll be all right come May or June or July. But Dodger fans want to see it right now.
3 balls and 2 strikes. Rollins his first season with the Dodgers after 15 years with the Phillies. He's only 5 RBIs shy of 900 for his career. Howie Kendrick is on deck. A 1-out walk to Rollins. Take a look at the lineup for Don Mattingly's Los Angeles Dodgers.
Jock Peterson at the top in center field. Jimmy Rollins just drew a base on balls. He'll be at short. Howie Kendrick making his way to the plate right now. He'll be at second base. Adrian Gonzalez over at first base. Justin Turner at third. Andre Ethier in right field. Yasmani Grandal struggling at 189. He'll be doing the catching. Alex Guerrero in left field. And Carlos Frias on the mound for the Dodgers.
Kendrick hitting .295 to start his Dodgers career. 3 homers. This is just Kendrick's second start this year, batting 3rd in the order for Don Mattingly. He's been hitting cleanup most of the year. But Mattingly has flip-flopped Kendrick and Adrian Gonzalez, with Gonzalez on deck batting cleanup.
It's amazing the trickle-down effect that missing a player or two in your usual starting lineup will have on the remaining lineup. Yeah, we did it with the Diamondbacks in 01 and 02 a couple of times. Asked Gonzo to move down into the 4 spot just for the sake of the team and the sake of the lineup. No Puig, a guy that normally hits at the top of the order. Carl Crawford, another guy that usually hits at the top of the order.
And they had the rookie Peterson down there comfortably in 8th. They liked him in that spot. No pressure, but now he's batting leadoff with Puig out, Crawford out. Rollins slumping, Grandal slumping. Both those guys have been dropped down in the order. Rollins had been leading off most of the year. Now he's leading off first. Runner holds, fouled off. It's a ball and a strike. And Kendrick's bat has been a little quiet lately. Hitting under 190 his last 9 games, and the strikeouts have been up a bit recently. Rollins bluffs and holds at first. That misses for a ball. It's 2-1.
Tremendous percentage over the course of his career. Always seems to pick the right pitch to run on. Yeah, as a base stealer, that's why guys try to get that big lead and peek into the catcher's signs to maybe discern if a breaking ball or a changeup is coming. That would be a good pitch to run on.
See if Ruby can get ground ball here. After Frias had a nice tidy 10-pitch 1-2-3 first for LA. Good career numbers against Ruby De La Rosa for Howie Kendrick. 2 balls and a strike. That's on a play, 2-2.
It just beats a pretty good fastball hitter with a fastball belt high inside part of the plate. We talked about Ruby's big arm, has a good fastball with some late life. That wipeout slider, the straight changeup was outstanding against the Pirates.
Yeah, Ruby originally signed by the Dodgers in 2007 out of Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. He made his big league debut with LA as a 22-year-old in 2011, but then missed virtually all the following season when he had Tommy John surgery. Over his 2 seasons with the Dodgers, Ruby appeared in only 14 games, 10 of them starts, and was involved in the Gonzalez deal. Brought Adrian here from Boston. 2-2 pitch. There goes Rollins, and it's fouled off.
Well, even after all the throws to first base to try to shorten up that lead and keep Jimmy Rollins close, he got a tremendous jump over there. Fortunately, Howie Kendrick had to protect the plate and fouled that ball out of play, sending Rollins back to first base.
Rollins 3 for 5 in his stolen base attempts this year. Still 2-2 to Howie Kendrick.
At least not so far this season. Take a look at the stolen bases by opposing runners. Fewest allowed in the National League. Yadier Molina and the Cardinals right on top of the list, followed by the Mets and then the Diamondbacks. mostly Tuffy. Also Jordan Pacheco behind the plate.
Another 2-2 to Howie Kendrick. Rollins holds it first. And Kendrick, the emergency hack, stays alive. Ruby creeping up on a 20-pitch first.
Starting to feel a little bit like that Troy Tulowitzki at bat in that last series at home. Fouled off 5 straight 3-2 pitches before ultimately walking on, I think it was the 13th pitch of the at bat.
Yep. And pitch number 9 coming up here to Kendrick. And of course, Justin Morneau followed after Tulowitzki worked a walk with a 3-run homer in the first. Rollins holds again, and again, Kendrick fouls it off. Pitch number 10 on the way. This guy's no slouch up there, that's for sure. His 10th big league season, his first outside the Angels organization. A career .292 hitter. 6 straight fouls now off the bat of Howie Kendrick. Got him. Well, Ruby wins the war of wills there. That's 2 outs, and here comes Gonzalez.
Yeah, better finale than the Troy Tulowitzki at bat. We like that one. Well, it seemed like Kendrick was fouling off everything Ruby was throwing up there in that at bat, but ultimately just swings right through a fastball in the middle of the zone.
Adrian Gonzalez, he'll turn 33 on May the 8th, and what an April he had. 3rd in the league in hitting at .383. 8 home runs to lead the league. 19 RBIs in 21 games. The OPS is over 1,200. That's tops in the major leagues. And he slugged .790 in April. That's 70 points better than the next man, the Mariners' Nelson Cruz. And there's strike 1 from Ruby.
In the Dodger lineup, he plays the role of Paul Goldschmidt. If you had to pick one guy, don't let him beat you in this series, it would have to be Adrian Gonzalez just about every time you play against the Dodgers.
Well, Gonzalez in the 3-game series, Bob, between these 2 last month at Chase Field did not have an RBI. Diamondbacks did a good job containing him there. He did have 4 hits and 4 walks in 14 plate appearances, but 3 of the hits were singles, and for the most part was really a non-factor offensively.
Yeah, they just stayed away. If they did come inside, it was off the plate inside just to show him a pitch, let him gauge some velocity, and then go right back away again.
Diamondbacks shift defensively. 3 infielders on the right-hand side for Gonzalez.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to work him away again. That one just a little bit too far off the plate to run the count to 2-1.
Those were the numbers for Adrian Gonzalez. I mean, that's a good series, don't get me wrong, but in terms of his impact on the scoreboard, there wasn't a whole lot.
Especially, wasn't he like crazy hot coming into that series?
He had hit the 3 homers in 1 game and had 5 after 3 games. Rollins takes off. That is skied foul, third base side. He hang in fair territory for Ahmed up there. And Ruby De La Rosa strands the 1-out walk. We are through 1 in LA. No score. The D-backs and the Dodgers on Fox Sports Arizona.
baseball, and they go on during the game. Glenn Sherlock quizzing Tuffy Gosewich, I'm assuming about the sequence of pitches that they threw to one of the Dodger hitters, or where was that pitch? And yeah, Tuffy said, that's about that far off the corner. That's right where we wanted it. Always trying to make sure that you're on the same page with the pitching coach, the pitcher, the catching instructor, the catcher. Make sure everybody's pulling on the same end of the rope.
That's a live look in the Diamondback dugout as Mark Trumbo looks at strike one from Carlos Frias. And hard to imagine a better start to the season for Mark. He's hitting just under .320. And with hitting conditions here, perhaps never better. Hopefully he's in for a big weekend. Chases that one off the plate. It's quickly 0-2.
Rare breaking ball from Frias that time.
Trumbo, 9 extra base hits. The OPS right at .880 after the first month of the year, and coming off a sensational series against the Rockies. And he strikes out Trumbo on 3 pitches. Stayed away from him that time.
Yeah, real half-hearted swing on the 2-strike count here. Hard cut fastball in the mid-90s. It looked like it was going to be on the corner, but by the time Mark got the bat started, the pitch had slid off the plate.
Brings up David Peralta getting the start in left field tonight. Hitting .250 on the year. The slugging percentage is nearly .550. And the bat has come alive for David as of late. Coming off 2 spectacular games at the plate in the Rockies series. Had 3 hits, including a pair of doubles and a big home run. Also walked 3 times in Wednesday's game. He scored 4 times in the 2 games. That's in the seats. It's 1-1. And this was a no-doubter earlier this week against Colorado.
Oh, and you mentioned the 3 walks that David drew in one of the games against the Rockies. I think that's every bit of a good sign that he's seeing the ball well. If he gets strikes, especially strikes that he can pull to right field, he's really hitting them hard. But if he's not getting strikes, he has not chased out of the zone.
Frias has been very aggressive. He worked a 1-2-3 first on 10 pitches. Struck out Trumbo on 3 pitches. And he's ahead of Peralta now. 1-2 make it 2 balls and 2 strikes as he misses there. So Frias is up there throwing strikes, not messing around.
Hey fans, anytime the D-backs score 5 runs or more, Taco Bell is giving away 3 free tacos with the purchase of a large drink between 4 and 6 the following day at participating locations.
Two balls, 2 strikes. A roller that's foul right to Dave McKay at first. Carlos Frias, when asked about himself, said he's not a strikeout pitcher, even though he throws hard. He said he's a ground ball pitcher. He said he knows his role. You have to get a ground ball. You never see a ground ball hit over the fence, he says. And so he will try to get grounders with that good, hard 4-seam fastball and power sinker. A sinker that really gets up there mid to upper 90s on the radar count. You can see Grandal wants it down and away. Keep it down. But it's full 3 balls and 2 strikes.
That was his changeup at 90.
Yasmani Tomas on deck. Yeah, everything starts with a 9 velocity-wise. And Peralta, we mentioned the walks the other night against Colorado, works a 1-out walk here. First base runner for the Diamondbacks, and here comes Tomas. Yasmani Tomas, we mentioned how warm it was here today. Batting practice, I'll tell you what, BB, he was launching them way out of here to left center. He hit one that almost cleared that second level of bleacher seats, in fact. He is loose as a goose up there. And why not? 8 for 24 on the year, a double and 4 RBIs. Coming off a very encouraging series against the Rockies. Chip Hale, before the ball game today, of course, had Yoenis Cespedes when Chip was in Oakland, and he was talking about the comparison between the 2 Cuban sluggers. And Cespedes, if you can picture him in your head, that those big, wild, free swings. He says the thing that's most impressed him about Tomas is the difference from Cespedes, and that Yasmani swings much more under control. shoots it out to right field, and it drops in for a base hit. Yasmani Tomas make it 9 for 25 on the year. And a pair of one-out base runners for the Diamondbacks.
Ninth hit on the season for Tomas, and I think pretty much all of them have come this direction. That inside-out swing, pulls his hands in close to his body and a little bit low, and then just drives it to the opposite field. We saw him really hit some balls hard to the third base side of the field. Was that the Pirates series?
No, the Rockies.
That was the Rockies, yeah.
He had the one that hit lined it right to left center that Charlie Blackmon ran down, and another one that was a bullet right at Nolan Arenado.
Don't hit him to Nolan Arenado.
The place where base hits go to die. So a chance for Tuffy here. And Peterson, the center fielder, will shade well over toward right center field, so there's a whole lot of room in left center for Tuffy, who's at just under 180 on the year. You've got Peralta, the runner, at second, and Tomas at first. There's strike one. Tuffy this season hit safely in 9 of his first 11 games. His hits have slowed a bit lately. He's in a 2 for 19 right now at the plate. Chance for the Diamondbacks to strike first here in LA. Peralta's getting a huge secondary lead down there at second base. He at one point good 10-12 feet off the bag down there. A look down to Andy Green at third. Tuffy down 0-2. Check out this lead from Peralta.
A little bluff toward third base right there. You definitely want to get enough of a lead out there at second base that you feel you can score on any base hit to the outfield. The ball rolls through the grass, not only of the infield, but the outfield extremely fast here at Dodger Stadium. This place plays almost like AstroTurf.
Talked about the conditions here. Of course, with Southern California fighting the drought, and the consensus from everyone here is there is just no moisture in the air. And that has really sped up the hitting conditions in what has always been a very good pitcher's ballpark. Tuffy 1 for 32 with 2 strikes this season. Looking for a big 2-strike hit. It's a ball and 2 strikes now. Nick Ahmed is on deck. On the ground to third. Turner. Kendrick double clutches it, but still in time to turn the double play, and that's the inning. The Dodgers roll to 5-4-3, and that ends the Diamondback threat. We go to the bottom of the second here in LA. No scores.
Tampa Bay made a couple of roster moves today to take a lead over the Dodgers in most roster moves in the majors already this season. 52 roster moves by the Dodgers.
Yeah, Brandon McCarthy should be pitching tonight for LA, but he had Tommy John surgery yesterday. They're already without Ryu. Trying to scramble and put together a rotation, and some of their key bats out, notably Crawford and Puig tonight. So Justin Turner gets the start at third base. He's hitting .273 on the year. And Turner once again starting games all over the field already this year. Third base, first base, second base, even some shortstop. The guy who's really benefited from the injuries, if you want to use that word, for LA is Andre Ethier. He's finally getting regular playing time for the first time in a while, and he has really responded. It seems to have sort of woken his bat up. And he's on deck. This is lifted out to right center field. A.J. Pollock still drifting back and back and back, and it's gone. Justin Turner, we told you the hitting conditions have been better here, and that carried right out for his second of the season. And it's 1-0 Los Angeles.
Well, it looked like AJ was in the right spot a couple of different times on this fly ball to center field. Drifted back a little bit, thought he had a pretty good chance to catch it, then has to turn on the jets, get back to the wall, and make a leaping attempt. Well, we've talked about it already, but I've never seen the ball carry like that at Dodger Stadium at night this time of year.
That looked to be a harmless routine fly ball that was going to go well short of the warning track, and it just kept on going. And now they go into the overshift with Andre Ethier. Tomas was originally over there in the second base spot, and now they're calling him back and moving him back over to third. He had gone all the way over there, and he'll settle in his third base spot for Ethier, who just turned 33 years old and is now over 300 for the season with 3 home runs and having a very productive month with the OPS near 990. He homered in the Dodgers' last game. That was their win over the Giants here Wednesday nights, and in fact has homered twice in their last 4 games.
Well, to the best of my knowledge, Andre Ethier has been a pretty good soldier about the lack of playing time last season and the early part of this season. But given the numbers that he's put up with regular playing time, I have a feeling when Crawford and Puig come back and Ethier possibly gets pushed to the bench again, I don't think he's going to be such a good citizen this time around.
He's got the bat rolling a little bit right now. Yep. There's a clean single to right. So a homer and a single open up the LA second against Ruby De La Rosa. Here's Yasmani Grandal. And Dodger Stadium has suddenly become a hitter's haven here. Look at this.
Figure.
Always one of the great pitchers' parks around the major leagues. Yasmani Grandal, the slumping catcher, under 190 to start the year with 1 homer. That home run came against the Diamondbacks at Chase Field back on April 10th. Shift is on once again for Arizona on the right-hand side. But Grandal has played in 17 games so far, and he's got just 2 RBIs for the Dodgers, only 3 extra base hits. And so Don Mattingly recently dropped him down to 7th in the order. Two balls and no strikes. Grandal 4 for his last 25 up there. Acquired from San Diego last December in the Matt Kemp deal. He has spent most of the year batting 5th in the lineup. That's in there for a strike, 2-1.
It's been a pretty wide strike zone in the early going for Alan Porter back there behind the plate. And if a pitcher has real good command on a given night, you can exploit that. You can really take advantage.
That one catches the strike zone as well. It's 2-2 now. Alan Porter behind the plate. Gabe Morales down at first. Mark Ripperger at second. And the crew chief, Jeff Kellogg, is at third. Grandal has just not been a run producer. In the middle of that order, Don Mattingly Wednesday night dropped them to 7th, as we said. He said he thought Grandal pressing a little bit, really trying too hard, especially being on a new team after coming over from the Padres this winter. Trying to get him to relax a bit. Stays alive, another 2-2 on the way. The Dodger dog. I'm no Dodger fan by any stretch, but those aren't bad.
Yeah, the dogs are good.
It's the one upside of coming here.
I still can't figure out for the life of me, all these years I've been coming to Dodger Stadium, why the hot dog is an inch bigger than the bun on each end.
There is some carryover on either side.
I guess that's what makes it a Dodger dog.
Excess, it's LA.
Yeah, I guess.
They like to feel important.
If a little's good, a lot's better.
Put some of those onions on there with some brown mustard, you got something going.
Mm-hmm.
3 balls and 2 strikes. Ethier the runner at first. A run in on the Turner homer. And the Dodgers tonight are making Ruby De La Rosa earn his money. I've never been a big ketchup on the hot dog guy. You're cool with that?
I was raised in the Midwest. We ate ketchup on hot dogs. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those are the onions. Load those things up.
You have to clear that with your date for the evening before you load up onions on a Dodger dog.
It's a good test of the relationship right there. Another 3-2 pitch. And it's ball 4. Second walk issued by Ruby De La Rosa. And the first 3 for the Dodgers have reached in the second.
Left fielder, number 7, Alex Guerrero.
Really overthrew that one. You can see Tuffy reaching all the way across from one side of the plate to the other. Ruby not even close to his spot that time. Just kind of came unglued mechanically a little bit right there.
Well, he's had some long at-bats in this ball game. We had that 10-pitch at-bat to Kendrick back in the first inning, 9 to Grandal. Back with you tomorrow for Game 2 of this series. Diamondback Live pregame show starts at 5:30 in the afternoon. That's Jeremy Hellickson for the Diamondbacks and Scott Baker, the veteran, for the Dodgers. Well, Ruby will now work to the red-hot Alex Guerrero. This has been one of the bats in this lineup that's worked well as of late, finally having that breakthrough season that the Dodgers anticipated when they signed him out of Cuba. Guerrero playing left field tonight. He's hitting over .420 with 5 homers and has had the power stroke lately for LA. He's homered 3 times in his last 11 at-bats.
Second series in a row where we've had a number 8 hitter that was knocking the cover off the ball. DJ LeMahieu was leading the National League in hitting, batting 8th for the Rockies.
And Guerrero has forced his way into the lineup just really when they needed him. Especially down some corner outfielders, Puig and Crawford. Guerrero in Cuba was a shortstop. They've been trying to find him a home defensively. And it's worked out now well where he plays some third and some left. .40 pitches for Ruby, 23 for strikes. Don Mattingly said when a guy's swinging the bat, you're going to find playing time for him. And they've been able to work Guerrero into both positions. Turner is playing third tonight, and Uribe sits. And frankly, Guerrero's defense has been a little better than they anticipated as well. That one misses. It's 2 balls and a strike. And De La Rosa laboring here in Los Angeles. This is away with a fastball. It's 3-1. Frias, the pitcher, is on deck. Missed inside, and that's his third walk of the ball game so far. Well, Ruby came in. He'd walked 5 batters in 25 innings of work this year, never more than 2 walks in any start. And he's walked 3 already and 1+ so far tonight.
Looked like Tuffy wanted that pitch. A little change up, fading off of that inside corner at 82 miles per hour. Just a little too far off the plate that time for Alan Porter.
And so the Dodgers, with no outs and 1 run already in, have the bases loaded for the pitcher. It's Ethier at third. Grandal, the runner, at second, and Guerrero at first. There's a strike. Well, Ruby will flash electric stuff from time to time. That's what the scouts and evaluators have always liked about him. It's a question of harnessing that great stuff, which he certainly did in his previous start Saturday against the Pirates at Chase. He jumps ahead of Frias 0-2.
You saw Frias 0 for 1 this season. He's 0 for 8 lifetime with 4 punch-outs, and that's probably better than he's looked. This guy looks like he doesn't want anything to do with it. If you hit my bat, it'll be a miracle.
No miracles here. That's the first out. And the second strikeout for Ruby De La Rosa. Randall Delgado is throwing in the Diamondback bullpen. Brings up Jock Peterson, the leadoff man. Well, Peterson just turned 23 years old about a week ago, and he is red hot up there. He's homered twice in his last 3 games. He's up with the bases full and 1 out. Gives it a ride, high and deep and way out of here. A grand slam. Fifth of the year for Jock Peterson, and it's 5-0 Dodgers.
Boy, that was a long home run. Changeup just kind of fluttered out there on the outer third of the plate. Peterson got full extension, solid contact off the barrel of the bat, and way back into the pavilion in deep right center field.
He has been killing the ball lately. Jimmy Rollins. Second home run in the inning for LA. And the 6th given up this year by Ruby De La Rosa. Sky to center. AJ's got room out there. 2 down. Well, Jock Peterson, MVP of the Coast League last year. He was at Albuquerque and just tore it up. Hit 300, 33 homers, 78 RBIs. Also stole 30 bases. He's long been their best defensive center fielder, and now the bat is coming around as well. Howie Kendrick lifts this in the air to the right field corner. Mark Trumbo near the line. He runs it down. That's the final out. But the Dodgers get 5. A solo homer by Justin Turner and a grand slam by their rookie center fielder. They lead it 5-0. For the D-backs and Padres game at Chase Field, it'll be college night. That means students get a ticket to the game for only $5. So get your college night ticket right now online at dbacks.com/college. It's UCLA night here at the ballpark tonight. And Nick Ahmed, the former UConn Husky, will lead off the third inning against Carlos Frias, who suddenly's got a 5-0 lead. A solo homer by Justin Turner and a grand slam by Jock Peterson. Nick Ahmed in there, batting 140 on the year. There's a strike. Nick had a base hit in both of his starts in the Colorado series at Chase Field this week. Ahmed, the pitcher spot, and Pollock 8-9-1 in the Arizona third. De La Rosa is out there in the on-deck circle. Randall Delgado had been warming in the Diamondback bullpen. He has since stopped throwing. And so Ruby will get a chance to right the ship, as it were, down 5-0. 2-1 to Nick Ahmed. Is in there for a strike. It's 2-2. He did not go. That's Gabe Morales down there at first. Full count. Well, the bad news is, BB, 5-0. Good news, it's only third inning, and it's not like Sandy Koufax is out there for the Dodgers.
Yeah, the way the Diamondbacks have been swinging the bats recently, 5 runs should be nothing, especially the way the ball's jumping here tonight.
I still can't get over that Turner home run. That was a routine fly ball. Peterson's, that was barreled up.
Yes, it was.
He's still smiling about that.
Well, these are the kind of nights I remember Mark Grace walking up and down the dugout in 2001 saying, if they want to slug, we'll slug.
Lines that one right to Kendrick at second.
You never know what kind of ball game it's going to be when you leave that clubhouse before the game. You can anticipate, based on the pitchers on the mound that night, boy, this is going to be a low-scoring game, or this is going to be a high-scoring game. But until you get out there on the field and start playing the game, you're not sure what kind of game it's going to be. But right now, the D-backs need to slug.
Well, they'll try and do it against Carlos Frias, this 25-year-old right-hander. Frias appeared in a big league game for the first time this season on Sunday. He worked 1 inning in relief. That was in a loss at San Diego. He's been pressed into service in this rotation. He worked 1 1/3 innings Monday here against the Giants. He's ahead of De La Rosa 0-2. Before he was called up from AAA Oklahoma City, Frias had appeared in 3 games down there, 2 of them starts. And in 12 innings of work, gave up 18 hits with 15 strikeouts.
It seems funny to say Oklahoma City.
Yeah, they used to be Albuquerque.
Albuquerque forever.
This is on the ground, rolled over the mound, but right to Rollins at shortstop. 2 out. Frias 15 games with the Dodgers last year, just 2 starts. He spent most of last year pitching at AAA, mostly as a starter. And at just over 91 innings, had a record of 8-4. The ERA was just over 5. So it's not like any of the minor league numbers jump out at you. A.J. Pollock flied out his first time.
Well, we have a moment. Let's take a look at our Valley Honda keys to the ball game tonight. Beware of the understudies. We mentioned no Puig, no Crawford. A couple of the other guys struggling a little bit, but in their absence, Alex Guerrero, Jock Peterson really picking up the pace. Andre Ethier, another guy that's swinging the bat well. And offensively, you got to turn it up against Frias. This guy throws hard. He likes his fastball. He's only thrown 1 pitch under 90 so far in this game. Topped out at 98. Threw 1 changeup at 89. Everything else has been in the 90s.
Josh Colementer's fastball's what, 85?
On a good night with a tailwind.
Change up is 89. 0-2 on AJ. And he strikes out Pollock. Second strikeout for Frias, who works a 1-2-3 third. He's got a 5-0 lead. Weekend, Sunday, May 10th, you'll get to spend quality family time during the Diamondbacks and Padres game, and she'll get to take home this special Mother's Day ladies' tea courtesy of Fry's Food Store. You can get your tickets right now at dbacks.com. Adrian Gonzalez leads off the Dodger third. They lead at 5-0. 2 home runs in their second. Justin Turner a solo shot, and Jock Peterson a grand slam. The Dodgers, we've talked about how this is a good opportunity for the Diamondbacks to play these guys. They're hurting a bit. They have some slumping. players, as that's in the seats, but they are playing very well at home this year, LA. In 12 games here at Dodger Stadium, they have gone 10-2. And counting tonight, they've now hit 21 home runs in this ballpark already this year. They are on pace to set a club Dodger Stadium record. A ball and 2 strikes on Gonzalez. He homered for the Dodgers here Wednesday. They beat the Giants 7-3. Turner, who homered his last time up, is on deck. Two and two. Gonzalez has spent much of the year batting third for Don Mattingly, but as we mentioned, things are shuffled around a bit. And he's in there tonight in the cleanup spot for just the second time this year. Ruby De La Rosa strikes him out. That's 3 strikeouts for Ruby, 1 down in the 3rd.
Adrian Gonzalez is not an easy guy to fool, especially with 2 strikes, but then changeup fading off the outside corner just kept going farther and farther away from Gonzalez. He couldn't hold up.
Justin Turner starting at third base tonight. His solo homer led off the second. What appeared to be a routine fly ball to right center field that just kept on going over A.J. Pollock's head. There's a strike 0-1. Turner's a California guy, played at Cal State Fullerton. This was Justin Turner to lead off the second, and again, this looked like just a routine fly ball out.
AJ thought it was a routine fly ball out. He kind of pulled up short of the warning track, looked like he was camped underneath it, and then quickly retreated all the way to the wall.
Chases a high fastball, and De La Rosa gets his 4th strikeout. Good start for Ruby here in the 3rd.
Number 16,
Comes up
Andre Ethier.
Hot hitting Andre Ethier. Singled and scored a run in the first, or his first at bat back in the second. He's homered twice in his last 4 games. His home run Wednesday, career homer 148. So he passed Adrian Beltre into sole possession of 10th on the Dodgers all-time list. And 6 more, and Ethier will catch Willie Davis, the great Willie Davis, for 9th all-time for LA. And coming off a season of career lows last year, Ethier has been a resurgent bat in this lineup. He was the odd man out last season. I don't know what Ruby did in the dugout there after the second inning, but it's working. Struck out Gonzalez, struck out Turner, ahead of Ethier 0-2.
Whatever you did, do it again, and again, and again.
This is upstairs with a fastball, a ball and 2 strikes. Yeah, Ethier was a kind of a non-factor last year, had fewer than 350 at-bats. Homer just 4 times all year. He's already got 3 this season. That's out of play. His 10th season in the big leagues, Andre Ethier, all with the Dodgers. He is the longest tenured Dodger on the big league club. Looks at the shallow right center. A.J. Pollock has a play on it, and De La Rosa has now retired 5 in a row. A 1-2-3 third. 4th inning coming up. Diamondbacks down 5-0.
Skipper Chip Hale. Steve, you alluded to this on the pregame show. Made the announcement today that Robbie Ray will pick up the next start in the absence of Archie Bradley. In fact, he'll get 2 starts, so says Chip Hale. And there is Robbie Ray, his numbers with Reno. You see the 35 strikeouts. As Jack McGruder has tweeted, tied for second in the minors. They think he has more swing and miss type stuff that might be needed in the rarefied air, in the mile-high air at Coors Field in Denver. Archie Bradley scheduled for a side session on Saturday. Looks like if the swelling continues to go down, might see him back by the 15th. He's already tweeting that he's missing his teammates. I'm sure you've all seen that.
Chris Owings hard to third, right to Turner, one away. Yeah, Archie is, he'd pitch tonight if they let him. And he appears to be good to go. The news on Archie is very encouraging. But we'll get 2 looks at Robbie Ray, who was acquired from the Tigers in the offseason as part of the Didi Gregorius deal. And with Robbie, the question is always the command. The walk totals have been a bit higher than they'd like in Reno, but we'll get a look at Robbie Tuesday at Coors Field.
And we just saw the Rockies, and we know as a ball club they don't like to walk very often, so that could work in Robbie's favor.
Yeah, they're an aggressive, free swinging bunch, that's for sure. So we'll have that game for you Tuesday right here on Fox Sports Arizona. 0-1 to Goldie, who grounded out his first time. Base hit. Second hit for the D-backs. Let's take a look at our T-Mobile game-changing player, Paul Goldschmidt. Last 2 series against these Dodgers, feasting on LA pitching.
Oh, and they're well aware of that. I mean, we talk about advance reports all the time. Dodgers, everybody in baseball knows about Paul Goldschmidt. It's just a question of how hot is he going to be coming into your series.
Mark Trumbo struck out on 3 pitches in his first at bat, chased a few balls down and away. That's where Grandal will sit up here. Lays off that time. It's 1-0. Mark coming off that sensational series against the Rockies, 7 hits in 12 at bats, 2 doubles, a triple, and a home run. Drove in 5 runs in the 3 games versus Colorado and scored 4 times. He's got Goldie at first, 1 out. There's a strike, 1-1. Dodgers lead at 5-0. If you're just joining us, they got 2 home runs in the second. Justin Turner, a solo shot to lead off the inning against Ruby De La Rosa, who then gave up a single, walked 2 batters, got a strikeout before surrendering a grand slam to rookie center fielder Jock Peterson, the first grand slam for the Dodgers since June of 2013, when Yasiel Puig homered against Atlanta. And so that's our score, 5-0 here. Diamondbacks batting top 4. Two balls and 1 strike to Mark Trumbo. Trumbo gets one way up in the air to left field, but playable for Guerrero. Got under it just a bit. That's the second out.
Number 6
brings up David Peralta.
Hey fans, when the D-backs win, you win at Papa John's. The day after every Diamondbacks win, you get 50% off your regular menu price online order at Papa John's. Enter promo code DBACKS50 at papajohns.com.
Peralta walked his first time up tonight. Diamondbacks looking for some length in that batting order. They've got Goldie, they've got Trumbo, looking for some guys behind him. Peralta batting 5th, Tomas 6th tonight, trying to put a little more meat on the bone in the middle of that lineup. So Peralta's a critical bat here. Lifts it in the air toward Guerrero and left, backing up on the warning track, still going back, and he's got it. And that ends the inning. So Frias works around the 1-out single. He leads it 5-0. Starting with a West Coast Interleague showdown between the Angels and the Giants, followed by the Reds squaring off against the Braves. Coverage begins at 12:30 on Fox Sports 1 and streams live on Fox Sports Go. Bottom 4 in L.A. What an interesting start for Ruby De La Rosa. He worked around a one-out walk in the first, got out of that unscathed, got kind of blown up in the second. Had 2 walks, gave up 2 homers, won a grand slam by Jock Peterson. But since the grand slam, De La Rosa has retired 5 in a row. Had 2 strikeouts in the third, and now Yasmani Grandal opens up the LA fourth. Grandal walked and scored his first time up. Grandal, Guerrero, Frias, 7, 8, 9. Diamondbacks overshift on the right-hand side. Nick Ahmed all by himself on the left. 0-1 to Grandal. Ruby's showing some flashes here of what he did Saturday against the Pirates, at least in the last inning. And trying to keep the Dodgers at 5, give his team a chance to catch up a bit. Diamondbacks so far just 2 hits, both singles. Ruby against Pittsburgh. That was the one you really want to look at for him, and you want him to look at. And just do the same thing he did there, which is try to get more confident and throw more strikes. He was very effective working down in that last start against the Pirates. And said he was trying to attack the zone. Everything was working. He was under control. If he can combine that promising stuff he's got with some polish and command and control, as they say, be a top of the rotation starter for the Diamondbacks. That's what they expect. 2-2 pitch. Bounce to first. Goldie's there. 6 in a row retired by Ruby.
Well, this speaks to the fact that Ruby has not been down. That's the first ground ball out in the ball game.
Number 7.
Everything the Dodgers have been putting into play has either been a line drive or a high fly ball in the air. He's walked 3 batters already through the first 3+ innings, but good sign there. Ground ball to the right side for the first out.
And you need to be careful with Guerrero here. Out distribution so far for Ruby. Guerrero walked and scored his first time tonight. Hard to short. Nick Ahmed, the backhander, plants and throws. 2 down. 2 quick ground ball outs right there for De La Rosa.
Back-to-back ground ball outs.
Number 7.
Yeah, you're right. When Ruby gets on top of that ball and drives it down to the bottom of the zone, he gets weaker contact. He gets those easy ground balls so his defense can work behind him. When he's leaving pitches up around the belt, especially out over the plate, that's when he gets hit hard.
And work to the pitcher, who did not appear to be much of a hitter in his first at bat, Carlos Frias. He struck out. De La Rosa has 4 strikeouts. He has walked 3 tonight so far. And as we said, he doesn't exactly look like Willie Davis up there.
This is anti-hitterish.
He looks pitcherish up at the
yeah,
plate.
He does. This is what you should do. When you get a pitcher up there that obviously isn't comfortable swinging the bat, doesn't really want to swing the bat, just put him away quickly. Don't waste any time. Don't mess around. See you later.
Backing out of the box there, he looks in strike 3. 5 strikeouts for De La Rosa, who has now set down 8 in a row. Diamondbacks trail at 5-0. Log on to foxsportsarizona.com/beattheheat, and you can enter the word rivalry for your chance to win a trip to San Diego for the July 4th weekend. Throughout the month of May, we will give you the word of the day during each game. Once you see it, go to foxsportsarizona.com/beattheheat and enter that word. The more times you enter, the better your chances. For more information, visit foxsportsarizona.com. And the word is rivalry. That is weird, wild stuff. Fifth inning, L.A. leads the Diamondbacks 5-0. Yasmani Tomas leads it off for the D-backs. Tomas goes to wish Ahmed 6-7-8 in the Arizona fifth against Carlos Frias, who so far has given up just 2 hits, both singles. One of them to Tomas in his first at-bat. Ever watch Password? That reminds me of Password. The password is pizza. The greatest Odd Couple episode of all time. Daniel Hudson warming up in the Diamondback bullpen. Randall Delgado had been loosening up earlier. Tomas down 0-2. Ruby De La Rosa has settled in nicely. He's not given up a base runner since the Peterson Grand Slam. He's retired 8 straight.
Nice to get something started here at the bottom of the order and then roll around to the top. We've talked about it at length throughout the first month of the season. Just haven't been getting consistent production from the 6th spot on down in the lineup. Be nice to get a rally started here with the bottom of the order.
Again, another example right there of a more patient and selective Yasmani Tomas, who's worked the count back even 2-2. And Chip Hale pointed out the Diamondbacks were told when they signed Tomas he was really not a walk guy, that he would strike out a lot, but they've seen a guy with a pretty good idea of the strike zone up there. Rolls it over the mound. Rollins behind the bag, collects it, and throws him out.
Robbery right there. Look at Jimmy Rollins. He's on the second base side of the bag by the time he gets to that ball. Takes a couple of extra steps to make sure he has a good grip on the ball and just does get it over there in time to get Tomas. We've seen Tomas streak down that first baseline if he thinks he's got a chance to leg out an infield hit. He was going hard that time.
I'm told, Bob, by the boys in the truck that some of our fans back home in the Valley may be experiencing technical difficulties. We're taking some hits here at the ballpark, and they are working on it, so we apologize if your picture is not 100% clean right now. So if he goes a wish. Danny Dorn loosening up in the Diamondback dugout should De La Rosa's spot come up. And Hudson warming up with the bullpen. Huddy on the Twitter yesterday. Of course, this is a great basketball town. The Lakers are awful, but the Clippers will play at Game 7 tomorrow, I guess. And Huddy was saying, I guess all these Laker fans are Clipper fans now that the Clippers are in the postseason. There's some cheering in the restaurant during the basketball game. Another ground out to Rollins. He's been busy down there.
Number 13.
That's his 5th assist tonight. 2 down for Ahmed. We are told that there is no picture going back to Arizona, so you're going to have to go into radio mode here, Bob Brennan.
Do your best governor impersonation.
Hey, Ahmed, you do your best Candiotti impersonation and just do a mock draft over there for your fantasy league. Video is back, we're told. Nick Ahmed lines it to right. Ethier's there, and Frias is set down 5 in a row. He's got a 5-0 lead. where you'll get more standard features for less money. CenturyLink, your link to what's next. And by Mix One, great taste, no face, available at local retailers. Los Angeles, California, there we are down there, Dodger Stadium. Diamondbacks trail with 5-0 as we open up the home half of the fifth. LA with all their runs via the home run. A solo shot by Justin Turner and a grand slam by Jock Peterson. That was the last Dodger hit. Ruby De La Rosa has retired 8 straight since. And Peterson leads off the LA fifth. Jock Peterson, 11th round draft pick 5 years ago out of Palo Alto High School. And just turned 23 years old about a week ago. This was the Jock Peterson grand slam in the second.
About a no-doubter. Got a change up out over the plate. Full extension. Barreled it up.
Halfway up the seats in right field. Cleared the first section of bleachers out there. 80 pitches now for Ruby. 51 for strikes.
Unless somebody has done something crazy lately, I think Willie Stargell is the only player to clear the roof on the pavilions out there above the right and left field bleachers.
He cleared a few of them in his day. 3-2 now on Peterson.
Well, Peterson was trying to hit one up there on that roof.
And De La Rosa strikes him out. That's 6 strikeouts for Ruby. He set down 9 straight.
Number 11.
Better change up this time. Really sold it with the arm action. Started it on the inside part of the plate. A little downward movement. Got Peterson to swing right over the top.
Well, Tuffy Gozowicz was behind the plate for Ruby's start against the Pirates last weekend as Rollins steps in. And Tuffy was saying that changeup is just amazing. And against Pittsburgh that night, he had a lot of movement on it. And when you combine that power changeup with the fastball, that Ruby will vary his speeds on. It can be a pretty effective combination. All kinds of room out there on the left-hand side, but Peralta runs underneath it. I mean, Ruby will throw that fastball 91. Sometimes it's up to 97. And when he can do that and change speeds with his fastball, it's pretty tough on hitters. So even against good fastball hitting teams, De La Rosa's changeup is so effective that Tuffy says they can go back-to-back with the off-speed stuff multiple times. And so far, for the most part, Ruby has shown the command with his off-speed that allows Tuffy to call for that pitch time and time again, all in a row. Here's Kendrick.
If you watch Ruby De La Rosa after he releases the ball and then compare it with what we're seeing out of Carlos Frias tonight. Frias is what you would call a max effort guy. He's throwing every pitch as hard as he can. Ruby's very much under control, whether he's throwing a fastball in the mid-90s or that changeup in the 80s. Every delivery looks just like the one before it.
He's really settled down nicely since the Peterson grand slam. A roller to second base right to Chris Owings. And De La Rosa has set down 11 straight Dodgers, but the D-backs need to get him some runs. They trail at 5-0. in the 6th. He retired Bob the last 11 he faced tonight.
And unfortunately, just one bad inning tonight for Ruby De La Rosa. Just kind of lost the zone, walked a couple of batters, gave up the grand slam to Peterson. But other than that, he threw the ball extremely well tonight. Seems like that's been a common theme among the starting rotation. One bad inning that has ruined some outings this year.
He gave up only 3 hits, 2 of them home runs, both in the 2nd inning. He also walked 2 in that inning. Both walks scored on the Peterson grand slam. So Danny Dorn takes the at-bat to lead off the 6th against Carlos Frias, who so far has given up only 2 hits, both singles, and Danny Dorn 0 for 3 so far to begin his big league career. 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, looking for that first major league hit at the age of 30. And he's got it, a base hit for Danny Dorn, his first career hit in the big leagues. 10 years in the minor leagues. Danny Dorn is on the board.
Number 11, A.J. Pollock.
Boy, did he earn that base hit.
You betcha.
A lot of miles on buses, a lot of batting practice in subpar cages, a lot of games under bad lights in the minor leagues, and your first knock at the major league level comes at Dodger Stadium. Congratulations to Danny Dorn.
As Manny Tomas walks out to collect the souvenir and takes another baseball and pretends to throw it into the seats. He's got the genuine article there in the Diamondback dugout. A.J. Pollock now 0 for 2. For the D-backs to get right back in this thing with the leadoff man on in the 6th. 10 years in the minor leagues, a career .280 hitter in the minors, Danny Dorn. He turned 31 in July. And he's got his first base hit in the big leagues. A.J. over the mound and into center. Good start for the Diamondbacks.
Number 16, Chris Owings.
They love some traffic on the bases in front of the middle of the Diamondbacks order, and A.J. Pollock picks on a fastball up and out over the plate, sends it right back at Frias and on into center field. Rally time.
A.J. continues his hitting streak against the Dodgers. And a chance for Chris Owings, who was 0 for 2. He has grounded out twice. Dodgers bullpen will start to get busy a little bit. Baez is going to start throwing. Chris Owings has hit safely in 3 straight games and 8 of his last 9. We're going to get a visit here from Rick Honeycutt.
This is more stalling tactic than anything else to allow the Dodgers some time to get that bullpen going a little bit.
They've done a good job of ham and egging it down there with a couple of guys that throw pretty hard. Of course, they're without their closer, Kenley Jansen, who's got a bad foot. He's missed the whole year so far.
See starting pitchers going 6 or more innings in consecutive starts. Dodgers have had a string of 12 straight.
They have Scott Baker scheduled to start tomorrow's game, the former Minnesota Twin, and Brett Anderson works against Chase Anderson on Sunday. They've pushed Kershaw back a day. 2 on, nobody out for Chris Owings. Diamondbacks down 5-0, trying to get back in this thing.
You mentioned Dodger closer Kenley Jansen. He's throwing a rehab game in Rancho Cucamonga tonight.
One's in the dirt, blocked by Yasmani Grandal. It's 1-0. Mentioned that CO has hit safely in 8 of his last 9 games, a batting average during that span of better than .315. So he's had a hot bat lately. Dorn is the runner at second, Pollock at first. There's a strike, 1-1.
We showed you that graphic. The Dodgers with 12 consecutive starts, 6 or more innings. The last Dodger pitcher not to go 6, Clayton Kershaw.
Porter called that one a strike at the top outer portion of the strike zone. Well, what's he ever done? Frias coming unglued a bit here. He's given up 2 singles to lead off the inning, and now he's behind on Owings 2-1 with Goldie on deck. Got some Dodger people flashing some cell phone lights out there in center field right next to the batter's eye. The umpires haven't picked up on it, nor has the hitter apparently, but we need to put a stop to that out there. You can see there's a guy halfway up. Watch that, right by the batter's eye, above the second baseman Kendrick, that flashing light. It's still flashing out there. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
You're a big help. 2-2. Some Rhodes Scholar out there in the outfield. 3-2 now.
Down by 5 runs. I seriously doubt if Chip will get the runners in motion here. And Chris Owings has shown a propensity to swing and miss, so this is not really an ideal situation to go ahead and start the runners in an attempt to stay out of a possible double play.
Fair enough, he chases one down their way and strikes out. Just the 3rd strikeout for Frias.
I'd say there's a lot to like about Chris Owings' game, but he's going to have a little bit better plate discipline if he's going to be an offensive force at the major league level. He's only drawn 2 base on balls all season long, and that was his 24th strikeout so far this summer.
He has always been a very aggressive hitter up there, CO, all through the minor leagues. Even when he hit .330 at Reno and he was the Coast League MVP, he walked less than 4% of the time. A long visit out to the mound by Grandal that Alan Porter will come out and break up. And Don Mattingly will make the move with Goldie coming up. Well, the Diamondbacks so far have out-hit the Dodgers 4-3, but they trail it 5-0. And they'll try and get back in here against the Dodger bullpen with 1 out in the 6th. We'll return after this. Back there, and this guy is one of them. It's the right-hander Pedro Baez. You can see his 10th appearance of the year, a 3.24 ERA. He has struck out 10 batters in 8 1/3 innings. They've been a little short-handed back there, but they've had some guys step up, and Baez has done a good job last year. 2-1, 12 saves between AA and AAA. He's been a valuable guy so far this season for Don Mattingly.
Another big arm out of the pen, as you mentioned. Fastball, slider, changeup combination from Baez. The average velocity on the fastball over 96 miles per hour this year.
Yeah, they don't mess around in this LA bullpen. They throw them by the pound, I think. All these guys come in and they throw in the upper 90s. So Baez will work to Goldie with 2 on and 1 out. Diamondbacks down 5-0. Danny Dorn, after his first major league hit, is on second. And A.J. Pollock also with a single on first. Owings has struck out. Now here's Goldie. Paul Goldschmidt singled his last time up. He's 1 for 2. Chance for the Diamondbacks to get right back in this thing right here. And of course, Goldie has always hit very well in this ballpark. 26 career games at Dodger Stadium. A .330 hitter with 8 home runs. Jumps on the first fastball and sees it's 0-1.
Highest OPS for opponents right here at Dodger Stadium. Paul Goldschmidt on that list. You mentioned the great success he's had in this ballpark over the years. Yeah, Sosa, Utley, Pujols, Brad Hopp. How'd he get in there?
Hoppa. 0-1 to Goldie. He went, says Gabe Morales at first. It's 0-2.
I'm not so sure if Goldie was frustrated at the call or frustrated at himself. He definitely got the bat out there too far that time. 96 mile an hour with some sink on it as it got up there to the bottom of the zone.
This guy can be tough. On in relief of Carlos Frias. Jam shot pop up. Very shallow left center field. Guerrero's there. And that's the second out. Goldie 1 for 3. Here's Trumbo.
Number 15.
Goldie really had to pull his hands in close to the body that time. We talk a lot about full extension. Well, he didn't get anything close to full extension. He's still strong enough to hit it out of the ballpark, but just got under that one a little bit too much.
Mark Trumbo 0 for 2. He has struck out and flied out. Hard to short. Rollins, the backhand stop. Bobbles it, and he's got no play. The bases are loaded. That's an error on the shortstop. Rollins, E6, has loaded the bases for David Peralta.
Oh, make it hurt. Hard hit ball to the backhand side. He just fields it off the heel of the glove. Can't find it immediately. By the time he picks it up, he realizes he doesn't have a play at second. Too late to regroup and throw to first.
Dorn is the runner at third. Pollock at second. Trumbo at first. And Peralta steps in. He walked in the second, flied out his last time up. He's 0 for 1.
Got a good feeling about this one, partner.
Well, the Dodgers had the bases loaded, and John Peterson hit a grand slam. Let's try and keep that mojo going. Make a mistake with a fastball, they will turn on it. This is at 95, 1-0. Peralta 11 hits on the year, 7 of them for extra bases. Trying to put a crooked number up here in the 6th. A lot of room in right center field. See the center fielder Peterson shaded over toward left center field. Jeff Kellogg, the crew chief at third, 2-0.
Pretty good chance you're going to get a fastball here. If it's to your liking, make sure you put a good swing on it. 2-0. This is an ideal hitter's count. Bases loaded. Chance to put the D-backs right back in this ball game. Got the fastball just in a pitcher's location that time, right on the outside corner at the knees.
97 miles an hour.
Or maybe not on the corner. Alan Porter. All night long.
It's been a pretty big strike zone up there. Still a good hitter's count here, 2-1. Remember in that last game against the Rockies, Tomas and Pacheco both had big 2-out hits for the Diamondbacks in that 5th inning. Two and two.
The fastball this time, they tried to come inside on David. Did get it in there just a little bit. He had to pull his hands in a little closer to his body that time, but a pretty good rip at it.
The Diamondbacks get 2 singles and an error in the inning, and down 5-0. They leave them loaded. Baez comes in, gets a fly ball and a strikeout. It stays 5-0. Ruby De La Rosa gave up only 3 hits. 2 of them, though, were home runs. One a grand slam by Jock Peterson. He did not give up a base hit since the Peterson grand slam. He retired the last 11 he faced, but he has left the game, and now Daniel Hudson will open up the 6th, his 8th appearance of the year. And it worked to the heart of the order here. Gonzalez, Turner, Ethier, 4, 5, and 6 in the LA 6th. D-backs about hit the Dodgers 4-3, but trail at 5-0. 2 home runs, a solo shot by Justin Turner, and a grand slam by Peterson. That was the last Dodger hit, in fact. Gonzalez 0 for 2. He has popped up and struck out. So Frias goes 5 1/3. shutout innings, gives up just 4 hits, all singles, and he struck out 3, walked 1. Did a good job for the Dodgers here tonight. 2-0 to Gonzalez. .373 on the year with 8 homers. 8 homers, leads the league. Gonzalez takes a lot of ribbing for his slow base running. He's slower than Christmas, really, but recently a Dodger radio guy mentioned that, and Gonzalez challenged him to a 40-yard dash.
Really?
Yeah, blew his doors off.
Ah.
Poor guy had no chance. Never seen Gonzalez run that fast. They went along the third base coach's box area at Petco Park in San Diego. They set up a 40-yard dash, and they let the guy borrow Justin Turner's cleats. Those were the ones that apparently fit, and the Cinderella got his doors blown off. Gonzalez did not take kindly to being called slow. 3-2. Down to the great Davey Lopes at first. Diamondbacks in the overshift again for Gonzalez. Gonzalez says he doesn't care about shifts. Says it doesn't even matter, doesn't even register. He's just up there trying to hit line drives. Daniel Hudson on in relief of Ruby De La Rosa. And he strikes Gonzalez out. Took something off there, 1 down.
Oh, we have a moment. Let's take a look at this day in baseball history, brought to you by Geico. A couple of major milestones on this day. Back in 1991, Ricky Henderson stole his 939th career base to pass Lou Brock as the all-time stolen base leader. But he was upstaged by Nolan Ryan, who threw his 7th no-hitter at the age of 44, struck out 16 Blue Jays in that game.
Speaking of milestones, we should acknowledge Alex Rodriguez tonight. He had a pinch hit home run for the Yankees at Fenway Park and tied Willie Mays, 664th all-time. Holding foul ground, and they retired Turner. And looked a little something like this. This was some A-Rod history. In fact, gave the Yankees a broke up a 2-2 tie in the 8th. And so A-Rod has tied Willie Mays on the all-time home run list.
Perhaps not the same warm and fuzzy feeling A-Rod was hoping for, but when you hit it in Boston, you play for the Yankees, what do you expect?
I was going to say, Red Sox Nation, I'm sure, had a field day. Andre Ethier singled and scored in the 2nd. He's 1 for 2. I see some Dodger dogs have made their way into the broadcast booth.
Yes, indeed they have, and I feel obligated to make them go away.
Well played. 1-1 now. JR takes good care of us up here.
Yes, he does.
He's the best. Although I'm told he will be working the Clipper game tomorrow night.
Front runner.
Yeah. Ethier gives it a ride. Gone. His 4th, 6-0 LA. 3rd Dodger home run tonight, and the ball is flying out of here. Last year, Andre Ethier hit 4 home runs for the entire season. He just hit his 4th this year on May the 1st.
Never thought these words would come out of my mouth, but Dodger Stadium is playing like Coors Field tonight. I mean, that ball's crushed, no doubt about it, but usually a night game at Dodger Stadium, that ball will barely clear the fence, in front of the fans, just over the barrier. These home runs are going 3/4 of the way up the bleachers out there.
And Ethier is red hot right now. He's homered 3 times in his last 5 games. He has seen an opportunity here, and he has come alive offensively. They are without Crawford. They are without Puig. He's finally getting some playing time, and he is seizing his opportunity. We talked about this ballpark. Dodgers have now hit 22 home runs in this ballpark. And if this score holds up here in 13 home games this year, they'll have gone 11-2. 3-0 to Yasmani Grandal. Peterson had the big one, the grand slam, back in the second. .96 from Huddy. It's full, 3-2. Roller, Yasmani Tomas. The shift is on. He was practicing ground balls from that very spot earlier today. And he throws them out. But Ethier gets his 4th, the Dodgers' 3rd homer tonight, and they lead it 6-0.
Chronicle the first major league hit for Danny Dorn after what probably felt like a lifetime in the minor leagues. Went to Cal State Fullerton. Yasmani Tomas with the great practical joke, throwing the wrong ball in the stands. The ball has been chronicled and saved, I'm sure. Believe that's his sister Kim. You could hear some of the family members roaring as there was sort of an eerie silence here. If I heard it down here in the dugout, I'm guessing that Mr. Dorn did as well. And guys, as fate would have it, I know you think we sort of make this stuff up on the fly, but on tomorrow's pregame show, Diamondbacks Live, we have scheduled a conversation with Danny Dorn and Tuffy Gozewich. We're just going to talk about the life and times of a minor league career that has them here in the major leagues. I can't wait to do that. I grew up in a AAA town, and I know about that journey for sure. I want to get it through their minds as well.
Yeah, Tuffy Gozewich, of course, Todd, 9 years in the minor leagues, mostly with the Phillies system, a bit with the Blue Jays. Danny Dorn, 10 years a minor leaguer, and tonight the native Californian gets his first big league hit here at Dodger Stadium. Yasmani Tomas leads off the 7th. And Danny is from Diamond Bar, California. As Todd mentioned, he played at Cal State Fullerton. and was a 32nd round draft pick by the Reds back in '06. And he hit for Ruby De La Rosa to lead off the 6th inning and belted a clean single to right field for his first big league hit. And so it's great that his family could be here to see that.
Great cheesesteak sandwiches at Cal State Fullerton's ballpark.
Now, why is that exactly?
I don't know. When my son went to UNLV, we played Cal State Fullerton, and you know, you get there early to watch batting practice, and you stick around for the game, and you got to eat sometime. And boy, they had great Philly cheesesteak sandwiches there. I'd go back to a ball game just to have a cheesesteak.
Going to Philly pretty soon. We'll be out there visiting. What is it? Tony Luke's out in center field.
Yeah,
that's tremendous. A little flare out to Guerrero in left. So Tomas flies out to left field. And that's the first out in the 7th. He's 1 for 3.
Number 9, Tuffy Gosevich.
had to be a little deflating for the Diamondbacks to get that rally started with Danny Dorn pinch hitting in the 9 spot, and then A.J. Pollock in the leadoff spot got on base with a single of his own. You really like the chances that they were going to score a run with the 2, 3, 4 hitters coming up, but just couldn't get it done.
Chris Owings struck out. Goldie flied out. Trumbo reached on an error, and Peralta struck out to end the threat. Tuffy 0 for 2 so far. You may notice here, BB, a change at Dodger Stadium this year. And they have made one significant change on the field for the first time ever. Ball girls. They have been occupying spots down each foul line at Dodger Stadium this year. And prior to this season, only male applicants had been hired for the spot, so it's about time. And Lon Rosen is the Dodgers' executive VP and chief marketing guy. He said a change really wasn't that big a deal. He said they've had requests before, they've had girls apply before, but this year they have the ladies working the corners here, and all of the girls added to the Dodger roster have had to try out. They had tryouts. They have all softball playing experience, and those that were selected and made the team are here in uniform tonight. So that's good to see. One and 2 on Tuffy. You would think here in LA that would, they like showbiz here.
Oh, sure.
You'd have some spokesmodel types down or something, but they got some real ball players here. I can see that. Chewing sunflower seeds and everything. Enrique Burgos has started warming up in the Diamondback bullpen. Tuffy lifts it in the air to right center field, but right at Jock Peterson was well positioned, and that's the second out. Well, let's take a look at our Chevron upcoming pitching matchup. A little earlier start for you tomorrow here. Diamondback Live pregame show. Todd Wall starts at 5:30. And the ball game at 6. Jeremy Hellickson against veteran pitcher Scott Baker, who was a longtime member of the Minnesota Twins rotation. That's tomorrow for you right here. Fox Sports Arizona, game 2 of the 3-game set. Nick Ahmed 0 for 2. Baez fires that one in there at 98. There's Jeremy Hellickson. And then Chase Anderson on the left of your screen there will start Sunday afternoon's game here against the lefty Brett Anderson. Then it's off to Colorado for 3 against the Rockies. And if you're just joining us, news today that Robbie Ray will take Archie Bradley's rotation spot. We'll get our first big league look at Robbie Ray. We'll start Tuesday's game. 0-2 on Nick Ahmed. Ender Inciarte is in the on-deck circle. Pitcher spot would be next. A lot of Diamondback dignitaries here on the trip. Tony La Russa, the chief baseball officer, is here. Josh Rowich, our director of communications. Joe Torre was making the rounds here, the former Dodger skipper. Nick Ahmed chases a 99-mile-an-hour fastball up and away for the strikeout. And Baez retires the side in order. Stretch time in L.A. D-backs trail at 6-0. On Fox Sports Arizona is brought to you in part by Chaz Roberts, Air Conditioning and Plumbing. Choose Chaz. By Yancey's Fancy, New York's finest artisan cheese. And by Tire Pros, the best selection of Continental and General brand tires. Visit one of the 22 locally owned Arizona Tire Pros locations. In Los Angeles, our Gila River game summary. The Dodgers with only 4 hits, but they lead at 5-0. And it was a big LA second inning. 2 homers, a solo shot by Justin Turner, and a grand slam by Jock Peterson, both off Ruby De La Rosa. Andre Ethier, a solo shot off Daniel Hudson in the 6th, and that's been all the scoring so far. Alex Guerrero leads off the LA 7th. He walked and scored in the 2nd. He's 0 for 1. Pitcher spot is 2 up next, and Enrique Hernandez is in the on-deck circle for LA. Diamondback bullpen is quiet. Enrique Burgos had been throwing. Daniel Hudson out there for his 2nd inning of work. Misses upstairs. It's 2-2. Guerrero signed by the Dodgers after the 2013 season out of Cuba, and a 4-year, $28 million deal. He's got a funny contract. Guerrero cannot be sent to the minor leagues without his consent after his first season, and that was last year. And also, if he gets traded, he can opt to become a free agent at the end of the year. But he's hit so well and played 2 positions for the Dodgers that he's going to be a pretty valuable guy. Hudson rings him up. 2nd strikeout for Huddy. Hey fans, baseball finally here. It's happening all around us, so grab a Pepsi and some friends and get out to a D-backs game and live it. It's for the thrill of the game. Pepsi, live for now. Pepsi, the official soft drink of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Kike Hernandez now. He will hit for the pitcher, Baez. 2 for 4 to begin the year. He's played most of the season down at AAA Oklahoma City. And hasn't hit a whole lot there. 170 in 16 games, but 2 for 4 here with the Dodgers. He was with 3 organizations last season. He's down 0-2. At the deadline last July, Hernandez dealt from the Astros to the Marlins, part of a trade that sent Jake Marisnick to Houston. And then last December, he was traded from Miami here to LA in the D. Gordon deal. He had 6 home runs in spring training, tied for the team lead. And he's a guy they like. Just 23 years old. He'll be 24 in August. Plays all over the field. Got some nice versatility defensively and offensively. Play a very good second base. He can play third, some left field, can play shortstop at a pinch. And he bounces that one. It's 2-2.
Daniel Hudson, velocity's been really good for the most part. His command has been really good. Just has not found a comfortable release point for that slider.
Looks like he lost his footing on that last pitch too. Buries that one in the dirt, and Hernandez strikes out. So 3 strikeouts for Huddy, 2 down. Here comes Peterson, a leadoff man, who'll hit the big grand slam back in the second. And it was a no-doubter, cleared the first section of bleachers out there in right. This is a guy that will still strike out a fair amount, nearly 30% of the time, in fact. He's got, counting tonight, 3 homers in his last 4 games. Overshift is on. Owings is halfway out to right field. And Tomas, the third baseman, standing in the second base spot. That's where he was taking ground balls earlier today with Andy Green. Right there. You see Tomas right behind the bat. So they've been working on his defense in the shift. 96 right by him, 2-1.
I think that's something that's really changed in baseball over the last couple of years, because so many teams are playing exaggerated pull shifts and practicing, putting guys at a position where they will play when you put that exaggerated shift and make sure they can handle that position.
And Chip Hale was asked just to make sure there is absolutely no chance that he plays second base. People saw that and they got a little excited, and they just said, no, this is all about the shift, just getting him comfortable over there. 3-2. He was over there for about 10-15 minutes this afternoon working with Andy Green.
As you can imagine, with that exaggerated pull shift, you get some awkward double play turns out there at second base from time to time, especially if you've got your third baseman playing where Tomas is right now.
And he loses Peterson, a 2-out walk. And Hudson now at 35 pitches in his second inning of work. D-backs bullpen still quiet. Jimmy Rollins will be the hitter. There was some talk that maybe Daniel Hudson would get the Archie Bradley start Tuesday. Maybe Andrew Chafin out of the bullpen, but instead Chip Hale said today it'll be Robbie Ray who'll come up from Reno.
Yeah, a lot of different options to take that start. You could have piggybacked it, what they do in the minor leagues a lot. Start one guy and the other guy comes in relief, especially if you have a righty and a lefty like Chafin and Hudson. Opposing manager will load up on the appropriate hitters against, for example, Andrew Chafin. You see more right-handers in the Dodgers lineup, and then piggyback him with Daniel Hudson.
I think they want to get a chance to see what they have in Robbie Ray. They had some promising outings in the spring, and then others that weren't quite as promising. The command has been a bit of an issue for Robbie. The walk totals are higher than they like, but he's got swing and miss stuff, that's for sure.
Yeah, another option would have been Randall Delgado, who started in the past, but he is throwing the ball so well right now, I would hesitate to change anything that Randall Delgado is doing.
0-2 on Rollins. You like the idea of just don't want to call it an audition or a tryout, but at least it's a peek at Robbie Ray. See what you have there. And he's pitched, of course, in the Coast League. Chip mentioned this today. He's pitched at those higher elevations, so they don't think pitching at Coors Field should be all that big a deal. Pitching at Reno and in the Coast League.
Well, ideally, the Diamondbacks hang around this National League West race all summer long, but at some point, if they do happen to drop far enough behind the other teams in the division, I think you're going to see a lot of guys get a look-see. Take that opportunity to really evaluate some guys, get them up here, see what they can do at the major league level.
Ball strike 3. So that's 4 strikeouts for Daniel Hudson, 3 in the inning. He rings up Rollins to win the 7th. Here's what's next, brought to you by CenturyLink. We'll see A.J. Pollock in the Arizona 8th. From Las Vegas, Mayweather-Pacquiao, the final face-off in the weigh-ins. Plus, what did Jameis Winston have to say after he signed today with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? See Fox Sports Live simulcast right here on Fox Sports Arizona following Frontier Sports.
Well, before we get underway here in the top half of the 8th inning, we'd like to send out happy anniversary wishes to our great director, Mitch Reagan, his beautiful wife, Karina, celebrating their 16th anniversary today.
Nice. Congratulations, you crazy kids.
Crazy kids.
Sergio Santos, the former Toronto Blue Jay and White Sox pitcher, will be the L.A. reliever on in the 8th, his 3rd appearance this year. Got picked up from AAA Oklahoma City about a week or so ago. And has worked scoreless relief in 5 of 6 appearances to open up the year. Kiki Hernandez will stay in the game. He'll bat 9th and take over for Guerrero in left field. Pitcher spot now 8th in the LA order. And Ender Inciarte will hit for the pitcher here to open up the Diamondback 8th. There's a strike. Ender in there just under 320 and getting on base at nearly a 360 clip. He's top 10 in the league in runs scored. And he's got a 7-game hitting streak on the line here. Looks at ball 1 from Santos.
Astute Diamondbacks fans will remember that Sergio Santos was the first-round pick of the Diamondbacks back in the 2002 amateur draft as a shortstop.
Converted position player in Toronto. Turned into a closer. Wave is making its way around Dodger Stadium here. It's a full house. They have Friday night fireworks. Two and two. Bounce to Kendrick at second.
We saw Daniel Hudson firing high 90s fastballs consistently around the edge of the strike zone, but really pulling that slider in the dirt and away from the right-handed hitters. You can see Mike Harkey right there behind Trumbo. Just talking about some mechanical issues perhaps that Daniel has that causes him to pull that slider out of the strike zone.
A.J. Pollock singled his last time up. He's 1 for 3. Each team with 4 hits. Diamondbacks' 4 hits are all singles. 3 of the 4 Dodger hits are home runs, including Jock Peterson's grand slam in the second. A.J. had a big series when the D-backs took 2 of 3 from the Dodgers back at Chase Field in April. 5 hits and 12 at-bats. He drove in 4 runs. Bounces this one to third. Turner spins and throws. Hey fans, MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, is celebrating 13 years.
Number 16.
You can watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. You'll get real-time highlights, live look-ins, the pitch tracking widgets, and a whole lot more. Blackout rules do apply, so check out MLB.TV for details. Chris Owens, CO 0 for 3 tonight. Don't forget Diamondback Live post-game show. Todd Walsh follows our ball game tonight. First pitch swinging, pops it up. Very shallow center. Rollins is out there. He's got it in front of Peterson, and Santos works a 1-2-3 inning. Diamondbacks trail the Dodgers 6-0. Cox, Gig Life, high-speed highlights. Danny Dorn's first big league hit, about the only highlight for the Diamondbacks, who trail at 6-0 here. And for the second time in 2 games, it's rookie sensation Enrique Burgos. He made his major league debut Wednesday at Chase Field against the Rockies, worked a 1-2-3 Ninth inning, got 3 outs on 8 pitches, and here he is to face Howie Kendrick in the LA 8th. Big 24-year-old power right-hander, 6 saves and 7 scoreless outings with the AA Mobile Bay Bears, where he's been closing games for Robbie Hammock. Tell you what, Bob, you're in the Southern League. I mean, he was at Visalia last year here in the Cal League. He was in Mobile earlier this year. And suddenly, manager goes into your room at midnight, tells you you're in the big leagues. A couple of days later, you're pitching in front of 50,164 people here at Dodger Stadium. And all 3 decks are full.
Yeah, they have a saying in the minor leagues, the scouts do, when they're talking about a minor league player. Let's see how he does when you put the second deck on the ballpark. Well, let's see how Enrique Burgos does with 4 decks on the ballpark here at Dodger Stadium.
50,000 people here tonight. Well, Burgos is a guy they like a lot. He's fallen behind on Kendrick, who's over 3. Last year, pitched at Visalia, led the Cal League with 29 saves and had 83 strikeouts in less than 55 innings. He's been doing a good job at Mobile this year, but he walks Kendrick to lead off the game. And that has been the problem with Enrique Burgos. He's got a big power fastball, a wipeout slider, but the command will occasionally come and go. Last year at Visalia, he averaged 14 strikeouts for every 9 innings pitched, and last year was really the first time he showed noticeable improvement with the command. It's been better this year as well, but it's something to keep an eye on. Adrian Gonzalez. Not the Southern League anymore. Gonzalez is 0 for 3. He struck out twice. We're here at Dodger Stadium, and if you look at Enrique Burgos, he's a big dude, 6'3", 251. Not quite as big or tall as former Dodger Jonathan Broxton, but there are a lot of similarities. And in fact, Broxton was a model that Burgos used coming up in the minor leagues with the Diamondbacks. You'll notice right as he delivers the ball, he taps his glove in the middle of his motion. Watch for the tap. Right in the leg kick. Right there. By a diving Ahmed and into left center. Gonzalez has a base hit. They were trying to get Burgos to use all the parts of his big body in unison a little better, find a little more symmetry, and they noticed that Broxton, who's another big guy, had this little sort of timing technique where he'd tap the ball right there in the glove, and it sort of helped all the parts coordinate a little bit better, legs and arms and torso and hips and everything. And so Burgos uses that same Broxton tap to help coordinate his arm and that big body. But he's got a little bit of a mess here. A walk to Kendrick, a single by Gonzalez, and here's Turner, who homered back in the second. Kendrick at second is the Dodgers' first base runner in scoring position since they had the bases loaded in the second and Peterson hit his grand slam. After the grand slam, De La Rosa retired the last 11 he faced.
Yeah, the pull shift on, and you'll see Nick Ahmed dives for this ball. It gets through into center field, and look at Yasmani Tomas, who was playing the second base position with that pull shift on. He realized there was nobody home at third base, so he just broke out into a sprint to make sure somebody was there to cover the bag.
I can see that. 96 from Burgos, who's a hard thrower. He's ahead 1-2. Yasmani Tomas. Has been having a lot of fun since he came up from Reno. He's a very loose dude. He has a lot of fun joking around with his teammates and coaches around the batting cage. He appears to be very relaxed here in his first league for the big leagues. Not by any stretch overwhelmed with his circumstances. 1 for 3 tonight, a single in the second. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Justin Turner. And Burgos trying to get comfortable out there. 6'3", 250, that big frame. And Turner just does get a piece. When Burgos first signed with the Diamondbacks, Mel Stottlemyre Jr., who's now the bullpen coach, was the minor league pitching coordinator. So he saw a lot of Burgos. And he said, this is a guy whose arm has always worked well. He's got a very natural motion out there. But what didn't work was his body and arm together. And that goes back to that tapping motion we talked about, trying to get all the pieces to coordinate. There's Mel. 96, and he blows it by Turner for the strikeout. And that's the first major league strikeout for Enrique Burgos.
Good high gas there from Burgos. Just rears back and throws a four-seamer right by Justin Turner up there above the letters.
2 on now, 1 out, and here's Ethier, who is the hot bat in this Dodger lineup right now. He singled and scored in the second and hit a home run back in the 6th his last time up, his 4th of the year. He had 4 homers all of last season. We have a little delay. There's something on the field in the left field corner. And one of the new ball girls is attended there. And we're set to go. Ethier 2 for 3. Kendrick is at second. Gonzalez at first. 1 out. This was Andre Ethier in the 6th with 2 outs. Seizing his opportunity here with Puig and Crawford both injured. He's finally getting some regular playing time, and he is making the most of it. 96 from Burgos is a strike. And Ethier has made it clear he prefers to be a starting player every day. And he said as far back as December, his desire was to come back to Los Angeles and start. That was his first preference. He did not want to be traded. But he said, you know, last year, Don Mattingly, and they tried all that platooning stuff. Obviously, it didn't make the Dodgers any more successful than it did any other times in the past, he said. And it was pretty clear, I want to be playing every day. And he's getting his chance.
Remains to be seen what will happen when you get the full complement of outfielders back off the disabled list. Carl Crawford's got to play. Yasiel Puig's got to play. Jock Peterson is their future in center field, and he's doing nothing but hitting and playing great defense out there in center.
Well, the problem with Ethier and trying to move him has been the money. He's an $18 million a year guy. And the Dodgers owe Ethier $56 million over the next 3 years. So you can't just trade him to move a body unless you get the chance to pick up all the money, which they could probably do. It's not really an object here, as we know. Brewers in the house. Two. But at the same time, Don Mattingly said this would happen. Hey, you know, Crawford is injury prone. Puig is still a young guy. Peterson is a young guy. You're going to need more than 3 guys. So far, he's been right. 3 balls and 2 strikes. All 4. So Burgos has walked 2 in the inning, and he's loaded the bases with a 1 out for Yasmani Grandal.
Number 9, Yasmani Grandal.
Mike Harkey.
Part of this, I'm sure, is a pep talk, just reminding Enrique Burgos, your stuff is good enough to get these guys out, attack that strike zone. And the second part of it is probably a little refresher on Grandal. How do we want to pitch this guy? Maybe even map out the entire at bat.
Well, through 4 minor league seasons as a starting pitcher, Enrique Burgos just had no control. He was walking batters in bunches. He's walked 2 in this inning, Kendrick at third, Gonzalez at second, and Ethier at first. Burgos had 1 season, in fact, during which he walked more than 7 batters per 9 innings. Nothing was working for him, so they moved him to the bullpen. And suddenly things started coming together. But he's in a mess here. Bases loaded, 1 out for Grandal, who's 0 for 2. And with his stuff, that hard upper 90s fastball, that big slider, he can be a very effective member of this Diamondback bullpen moving forward. Had a good spring. Enrique Burgos, his father, also named Enrique Burgos, was a professional pitcher for nearly 20 years. And his father pitched briefly in the big leagues, 5 games with the Royals back in 1993, and then 5 games with the Giants in 95. 0-2. And Enrique Burgos Sr. spent most of his pro career pitching in the Blue Jays minor league system. And he has worked closely with his son, who's now here in the big leagues. In fact, Burgos' former agent when he was a pitcher was D-backs GM Dave Stewart. Another 0-2 to Yasmani Grandal. Got it. Second strikeout in the inning, second strikeout in the big leagues for Enrique Burgos.
Seems to have a little better handle on that slider in this inning. Occasionally Burgos will allow his hand to drop underneath the baseball, which flattens out that slider. When he keeps his hand in the proper position, he gets a lot of downward movement, gets a lot of swings and misses.
Pitcher spot is here. It's 8th in the LA order, and so with the bases loaded and 2 down, it's the dangerous Scott Van Slyke, batting nearly 400 for the year. Ball 1 at 97, misses inside. 11 hits and 28 at bats for Van Slyke, 5 of them for extra bases, and he's riding an 8-game hitting streak. This is a guy with a very high contact to damage ratio. Belts it into left. Kendrick scores. They will wave Gonzalez. Here's the throw. Tomas cuts it off, and it's 8-0 Dodgers.
He's been a machine off the bench this year. Van Slyke in 48 now plate appearances, hitting over 320 as a pinch hitter. Driven in 15 runs off the bench.
Well, he killed D-backs pitching last season, 10 games against Arizona, 4 home runs. He hit nearly 420. And a 2-run pinch single makes it 8-0 in the 8th. And here's Kiki Hernandez. Hernandez struck out in his only previous at-bat tonight. Dodgers have out-hit the D-backs 6-4. They lead at 8-0. Skies this one third base side. Tomas will give it a look near the LA dugout, and he's got room. And Burgos is on to the inning, but LA adds 2 more. We go to the 9th. Diamondbacks trailing 8-zip. On the FoxSportsArizona.com/beattheheat and enter the word rivalry for a chance to win a trip to San Diego for the July 4th weekend. Throughout the month of May, we will give you the word of the day during each game. Once you see it, go to FoxSportsArizona.com/beattheheat and enter the word. The more times you enter, the better the chances to win. So for more information, visit FoxSportsArizona.com and beat the heat. Left-hander J.P. Howell on for L.A. to open up the 9th inning. We'll work to Goldie, Trumbo, Peralta 3, 4, and 5. Diamondbacks down 8-zip.
Howell's been a little more hittable in the early going this season. Opponents batting .375 against the Dodger lefty.
Goldie 1 for 3, a single in the 4th. One of the 4 Diamondback hits tonight, all singles. Goldie at .338 on the year. 20 RBIs, second in the National League, one behind Giancarlo Stanton going into play today. Don't forget, D-Backs Live post-game show follows our ball game. Todd Walsh will have reaction from the Diamondback clubhouse. BB and I will be here ducking for cover on fireworks night.
That's why everybody has stayed. You know, typical Dodger crowd, they kind of start trickling in the 3rd or 4th inning, and they start trickling out in the 7th or 8th inning, but a lot of people still here tonight.
And a big crowd, 50,164 on hand tonight. Three and 1 to Goldie. Dodgers got 5 in the second. Justin Turner a solo homer and John Peterson a grand slam. Ethier added a solo shot in the 6th. Van Slyke a 2-run single in the 8th. Goldie drives that to right center field. That has a chance to get down, and it does. Ethier can't cut it off. It rolls to the wall, and Paul Goldschmidt has his 5th double. Goldie 2 for 4. First extra base hit for the Diamondbacks tonight. Our Chaz Roberts air conditioning cool play of the game came back in the 6th inning. Danny Dorn from Diamond Bar, California, played at Cal State Fullerton, 10 years in the minor leagues, and as a 30-year-old rookie, his first big league hit comes right here at Dodger Stadium. Our Chaz Roberts air conditioning cool play of the game. Congratulations, Danny.
Doesn't get much cooler than that.
Mark Trumbo 0 for 3, reached on an error his last time. And Danny had a whole bunch of family here earlier. They're up in one of the suites. So he got to share that moment with his family and friends, which was great to see. Native California. Here's another native California, Mark Trumbo. Mark from Villa Park, California, where he was a star pitcher drafted by the Angels in the 18th round back in 04. Trumbo belts it out toward Kendrick, and it finds the mitt. Driving stab there by the former Angel, Howie Kendrick.
That's no way to treat a former teammate. That ball looks like it was headed for the gap in right center and maybe extra base as Kendrick reaches out at about ground level to snare that line drive.
It's a big hang with him for Mark, who goes hitless tonight. Now here's David Peralta. Diamondbacks had their biggest threat of the game back in the 6th. They had bases loaded, 2 outs. And Peralta struck out against Baez to end the threat and the inning. What a good opportunity for David to get an at-bat against a lefty. That's something he needs to improve on. Something he went looking for this winter when he went to his native Venezuela to play winter ball. He was looking for opportunities to face left-hand pitching. And he had a good winter ball season in Venezuela. Had 32 RBIs in 55 games. Hit .319 down there. He said he knew he was going to face a lot of lefties, and the more you face, the more you get used to it. And that's really the one part of his game that needs to improve.
At times last year, it was just a question of mechanics. David's right shoulder and right hip would really open up against left-handed pitching, making him vulnerable to pitches on the outer third of the plate.
Yeah, last year, David just crushed right-hand pitching at a .312 clip. Hit all 8 of his home runs against righties, but versus lefties, he was under 200 with just 4 extra base hits all year. So if he wants to be the type of guy where you just write the name in the lineup every day, a middle of the order type bat, regardless of righty-lefty, he has to improve against left-hand pitching. 2-1. That one in there for a strike. Same 2 teams tomorrow. 5:30 Diamondback Live pregame show. Jeremy Hellickson for the Diamondbacks and Scott Baker for the Dodgers. David shoots this out to left center field. It's carrying over Peterson's head, and he's got it at the wall. Goldie hustles back to second. Jock Peterson, the rookie center fielder, runs that one down deep in the gap, and that's the second out. Boy, the Diamondbacks bidding for some extra base hits here in this inning, but no Moss.
Boy, another ball that carried a lot farther than it appeared it was going to off the bat, but what a nice running play by Jock Peterson out there. He knows he's close to the barrier. Has about a step and a half to prepare himself to hit that wall, and quickly spun around and got the ball back in, forcing Goldie to hustle back to the bag at second.
Yeah, he has been the best defensive center fielder in their system. Tip of the cap there from David for a couple of years now. And you see why right there. So 2 down, Goldie still at second. Here's Tomas. Yasmani a single in the second tonight. He's 1 for 3. 9 for 27 on the year. shallow center. Now Peterson comes in, and that's the ball game. Well, the Diamondbacks' 2-game winning streak is snapped here. They drop at 8-0. They fall 2 games under 500 now at 10-12 on the year. The Dodgers get their second straight win. They are now 14-8 atop the National League West, and a big night for their rookie center fielder, Jock Peterson. Some terrific defensive plays in center field, and he had the game's big hit at grand slam back in the second.
And don't forget the starting pitcher for the Dodgers, Carlos Frias, 5 1/3, gave up only 4 base hits, a shutout baseball. Diamondbacks just couldn't figure him out.
Diamondback Live post-game show is coming up next here on Fox Sports Arizona. We'll have reaction from the Diamondbacks clubhouse. You'll hear from skipper Chip Hale. Todd Walsh will get busy down there and gather all our sound for us. And we'll start the post-game show when we come back. Diamondbacks Live, presented by CenturyLink, is next right after this break. D-backs drop the opener here, 8-0.